Okay, everyone, so the trial took place today, and good thing is I'm not in jail, which is always a plus. Bad thing is the judge, my motion to correct the errors in the jury instructions was denied, so now I have to appeal, because if you look at it, there's no way in hell I was winning with those jury instructions. That's why I filed the motion to correct the errors in the jury instructions. Because in this case, they had to prove that there was firearms in Massachusetts or that I had a firearm license. And the deputy chief admitted that he basically, he pretty much admitted that I didn't have a firearm license on that day, but the Sergeant Podunski, or whatever the hell his name is, who's honestly a complete piece of garbage, because he kept on lying during the whole hearing. Just lie after lie after lie. He's a piece of shit. Just lie after lie. I had it in writing and stuff that, that I notified the Springfield Police Department that the firearms were in Vermont, back in April, and he said, oh, well, no, he never told me this, or he never told me that. It's like, yeah, I did. And he's like, he was just arguing with me on the phone. He wouldn't even, I asked him this, and he just wouldn't even answer me, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, that's not what happened, and he knows it. I told him on the phone, look, I'm not meeting with you because I don't have a firearm license, and I'm not, the firearms are in Vermont. So I asked this guy, I'm like this, so if you thought the firearms were at my house, where I live, my residence, why didn't you apply for a search warrant? Why apply for a straight warrant for someone's arrest, but not a search warrant? If you think the firearms are there, but nope. So, yeah. And then about the firearm license, they kept on saying, well, he was notified on the 7th, on May 7th. It's like, look, the firearm license expired April 24th. So the judge's jury instructions, as we've already stated, didn't give a date. They just said, well, was he notified, and did he, comply when he was notified? It's like, well, he was notified on this day, but it's like, I wasn't notified on that day. It's like, in fact, it's like, the license expired on April 24th. They contacted me on May 7th via a telephone call, saying that the firearm license was revoked, when it wasn't even revoked. I was only notified on May 12th after being arrested. Where I have the paperwork where it shows it. But the judge, his jury instruction said, in writing in any or in any other manner. It's like, that's not what the law says. The law says it has to be in writing. So yeah, the district attorney tried to bring in Detective Shink's testimony through Sergeant Podunski, or whatever, Pogurski, or whatever his name is. But it's like, I was able to stop some of that at least. But yeah. So right now I basically have to do a motion to, an appeal. So that's gonna be a couple more months. Gotta love it. But once again, I'm not in jail, and now I just have to do an appeal. It's sad to say, but yeah. And once again, Judge McKenna, and I can say this even now, even louder now, without worrying about it. Justice McKenna is a very corrupt individual. Why is he corrupt? Because let's see, he's Richie Neal's former campaign, congressional lawyer. He's a former City of Springfield assistant solicitor, which is the city's attorney, and he's a former assistant district attorney for Hampden County. And with the prospective jurors today, I had to burn 2 of my prospective jurors. One was for someone whose father was, or stepfather was, retired Springfield, Massachusetts assistant city solicitor. Yeah, so one of their stepfathers was a city attorney. And the other one works for the Springfield Fire Department, 911 thing, and had worked in the Hampden County Sheriff's Department. Who, if you look at it, I asked the guy if he, one of my questions was if he wanted a career in law enforcement with the Springfield Police Department or any law enforcement agency. He said no. Anyone who spends time as a fill-in or part-time member of the Hampden County, Sheriff's Department, assistant, correction officer or whatever, and who is a dispatcher for a fire department or whatever, for the most part, they want a job as a police officer or some other form of law enforcement. And if they say they don't, then yeah, they're blowing some smoke up certain parts of your body. So I had to use one of my 2 things in order to get him off. And also there was one prospective juror who seemed to be in agreement for the most part, as what I was saying. And somehow they got her to be the 7th juror who was not allowed to be on the jury, which I thought that the first 6 jurors that were called were going to be the jurors, and the 7th juror that was paneled was going to be, the 7th one I thought was going to be the one that it was like a Hail Mary if they were going to be or not. And honestly, the 7th one, who wasn't even picked 7, she was like, yeah. She was visibly agreeing with everything I was saying for the most part, and then all of a sudden, supposedly they reached in a thing and pulled her number. But at the end of the day, the prospective jurors that they gave me it was very strange, because it wasn't 1 through whatever. It was a couple numbers, a couple not numbers. Basically the juror numbers were all over the place, which was kind of strange. It was instead of giving 1 through 20 or 1 through 25, it was the numbers were 1, 2, 3, then 11, then it was, I don't know. All right, well, to end cap it for today, the jury trial, it's going to appeal. So, corruption, I think very much so. The firearms were in Vermont. The firearm license was expired on the day in question. Booyah. Okay. Have a good one.